Hey everybody, it's Leeroy from Leeroy Gaming, and today I'm bringing you another Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader build video. Today we're going to focus on Cassia and making her the ultimate support character. This is the level 35 version of this character, so right before you unlock Exemplar. This is a critical part of the game. You're going to get to this right at the beginning of Act 4 most likely, and this is great to follow as you're leveling up. She is a character that can be quite offensive, but big note for those that are new to this game really has some insane synergies. So the most optimal way to maximize the damage you can do on any given round is by selecting one or two characters that are going to be kind of your carries, the people that will be doing most of your damage, and then support them, mainly through support characters. And of all the characters in the game, Cassia definitely has the most potential to really buff your damage and also survivability through the roof. So this build will show you how to build this character that can control warp levels. So warp degradation, she's going to be able to buff your stats to insane heights, make it so that you can easily in one round kill entire maps with multiple types of characters. I will have a section that goes over all the archetypes. We're going to look at inventory at level 35. And also, I'm going to have a little gameplay section where I narrate and explain how she plays. She may not be the most exciting character to watch since she doesn't do damage in this build, but the impact she has is ridiculous. So definitely utilize timestamps as needed. You're going to find those below if you want to jump to a certain section, but I hope you guys find this helpful. I will be creating additional builds for the characters and also high-level builds as time goes on as well. So, of course, if you find this helpful, please drop a like. If you want to see more RPG content from me, including Rogue Trader here, make sure to subscribe. Comments to help with the algorithm are always appreciated. And, of course, if you have any questions or comments, I definitely look at those as well. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at Cassia and how to build her into the ultimate support character at level 35. All right, we will start with the officer archetype first. And as a general overview, do note stat-wise, what we mainly care about with this character are going to be fellowship and willpower. For reasons that you'll see later, perception is also going to be important. And technically, intelligence could be a stat that you put some points into later on if you have nothing else to put points into, but you're only going to be mainly caring about these top three here. Now, as with my previous build, here's a quick overview for those that just want to see the quick choices on the right here from rank 1 all the way down. And if that's all you care about, you can go ahead and go jump to the next timestamp. But otherwise, let's take a look piece by piece what we select and why we select it. Right off the bat at the beginning, you're going to get your voice command feature. This is very, very important. This is why your fellowship is so important. It's how you're going to be buffing everybody that you target for those key kind of burst damage rounds. Then you're going to bump persuasion. This character, as you notice here, is my persuasion character. You can also make her your coercion character. You can make her your commerce character. She's just going to be very, very good at a lot of interactions, depending on how you build her. At higher levels, I had her a little bit more diversified, but here I just really lean into persuasion on this playthrough. So we get that point at the second level. Next, you're going to get Bring It Down. This is really big. This is what's going to give your main damage characters extra rounds of attacking. And this is for the range variants. Later on, you're going to be able to pick up one for melee, but range is so much more viable for this kind of setup. So you want to make sure you Bring It Down right away. Then Finest Hour. This is the best ultimate ability in the game, the most versatile. And as you buff it up, you're going to see why. But you're going to give somebody an extra turn, full AP and MP, and there's no limits to attacks. That's the real key there. So you can attack many, many times, whether it's with a sniper or Argenta, etc. And then Inspire Courage. Whenever you target an ally with an ability for the first time in a round, they're going to get temporary wounds. This is going to be really nice, just extra over health, I guess you could say, for your characters. Keep them nice and healthy. Then you're going to bump up willpower, followed by mastery of time. This is huge. Whenever a creature in combat gains an extra turn, you're going to gain a stack of +5 bonus to willpower permanently until the end of combat. You will notice there's ways to buff up your willpower in this build to insane numbers in the hundreds, which then in turn makes your buffs really, really powerful. Then Steel Reserve, upping your Resolve. Resolve is really big for getting the momentum up and getting your ultimate powers up first round. You can get, back-to-back ultimate powers pretty much on your first round. Bumping up Fellowship, again, that's going to be really important as well. And then probably the most important ability and why Cassia is so good here, Reveal the Light. So you're going to be getting willpower and toughness, meaning health. And really, if you buff any character that does any offensive abilities, you're going to make them very powerful. So your Psychers are going to absolutely love this. And notice that this scales in a really good way because it's 4 times your Navigator's willpower bonus. So this is 32 right now out of combat. But as you buff up this willpower to insane numbers, this buff for both willpower and toughness can get easily to 40, 50, 60, and so forth. So this becomes really, really powerful later on in the game. Then you get Pass Unscathed. This is very important. Why we don't really care about agility, to be honest with you here, is because if your perception is higher than agility, which it will be, your dodge is calculated based on perception instead. This is why you've got 110% dodge here. Next, you have Commanding Voice. Very important because it's going to increase the range of all your officer abilities, and in particular, Voice of Command. The main one is +6. Do remember, any time you target somebody with Voice of Command, all your other abilities have unlimited range to them now. So even though they would be out of range normally for that turn, when you have Voice of Command on the character, you can now cast all these other abilities on them. Next, we're going to bump Persuasion, and then we're upgrading Finest Hour. This is, as soon as you get this online, it makes Finest Hour just so broken good. You'll notice this is the upgrade option 4. During the extra turn, any kill by the target restores 1 AP and MP up to 9. And this is based on your Fellowship bonus. So the higher Fellowship, the more extra attacks you can do. So the second this is over 100, it'll be 10 and so forth. And then also says the Dark can redirect ability of the remaining AP and MP to another target. Why is this important? It's important because let's say your character's out of place and you still have a couple APs and there's nothing to attack. Well, you can then utilize this ability now to give it to somebody else that it has targets within range, and you could have, another 3 or 4 attacks. Very broken, very overpowered. Next, I chose to buff Coercion. Again, I mentioned this character's Persuasion Coercion for me, but you could buff any aspect. This is a secondary upgrade path. Fellowship, again, huge, important upgrade. Stable Route, I love this. Whenever a Navigator uses navigation abilities, you're going to have your Veil Degeneration drop by -1. This is how you allows your Psychers to use abilities almost infinitely, and you're going to keep this under control. You're also going to, in just a little bit, get an ability that will basically minimize the Veil Degeneration. So this is really the beginning of making Cassia not only a great supporter, but kind of a manager of the warp. We're going to bump Perception rather. And then we're going to go Get Back in a Fight. So this just basically, this ability is real nice because if you have enemies that are burning, bleeding, etc., or stunned, it lets you empower them and get rid of the debuffs. But very importantly, there are certain characters that will have abilities that only activate, or states that only activate when they have temporary hit points. So this is a guaranteed way to give them temporary hit points. Again, it's going to stack by 2 times the officer's willpower bonus. As I mentioned, you're going to stack your willpower within combat to insane numbers potentially. And this is going to become really, really strong as well. And then right here, the navigator gains a +5 to fellowship, an additional +1 to fellowship for every navigator talent and or navigator power taken. You're going to be taking a ton of talents and navigator powers, so this is just a really good bang for your buck boost to your fellowship. Very, very good. Next, you're going to go ahead and let's see here. We did that one. So you're going to, wounds are no excuse. So get back in the fight, which we had just picked up. What's nice about this is now removes fresh injuries from the target, and it heals the targets for 4 wounds for each condition removed. So if you're burning, but you're also quite beat up and you have injuries, this lets you clear up and get you to full strength without having to use med packs and so forth. So this is really nice. And it even says a minimum of 4 wounds is always healed, even if no conditions are removed. So very, very powerful and useful, especially at higher difficulties or later on in the game. Buffing coercion, again, that's personal choice there. Willpower. Then Veil of Protection. This is great too. Allies that are targeted by the navigator's powers gain 10% armor. So as long as you get one buff or effect per your main frontliners or anybody that's going to be getting hit, 10% armor is no joke. Now this says it gets reduced by the amount of veil degradation. Don't forget though, this character is very good at lowering that. And then we're going to go ahead and up Finest Hour even more. It does increase the target's damage during a turn, but that's not really why you get it. This doesn't scale as well. But what you care about is until the end of combat, the target gains the effect of Voice of Command, which buffs their stats to insane levels. So remember, here is the Voice of Command kind of calculation. 5 plus 2 times officer's fell bonus for 1 round. So my fell bonus here is 9. It'll easily be 10, 11, or 12. So here, let's say if it's 12, it's going to be 5 times 2 times 12, 24. So 27 to all of their stats. Normally it's only for 1 round, but now whoever you targeted with this, that's for the rest of combat, which is going to just make them infinitely better at whatever they're really good at. So that's the reason you get that upgrade. And that's everything you need to know about the officer element. All right, next we're going to look at the portion that is all about the Grand Strategist. Now, as before, I'm going to give you the preview here. If you just want to see the choices, you can take a look at this and use timestamps to navigate wherever you want to go. Do note that later on, I make a personal choice to bump up intelligence a little bit. This is optional. Again, your stats are mainly perception, willpower, and fellowship. As a Grand Strategist, you can get extra benefits from getting intelligence. That's why I chose to do that. But it is up to you how you min-max this. So there's the preview. Now we will go ahead and take a look at all the choices one by one. Now we start with the main ability to get Grand Strategist. This can be a little confusing for a new player because you're basically laying out areas on the game board, game area, that are going to get specific buffs. And in the gameplay example section, I'll show this more effectively. But just note, in this build, you're going to be really focusing on making one area very, very strong. And you get to choose what area that is at any given time. Normally, it's going to be the rare area, and I'll explain why. It's just going to, again, help synergize and buff the damage of your main damage dealer. Now, you will get Mend Reality. As I mentioned in the officer section, one of the things that Cassie is going to be very good at is controlling the veil. Basically, the veil degeneration goes up whenever you use psychic powers, which can be very powerful in this game. If it gets really high, it can cause some bad effects. So being able to control this is very powerful. And this is great because when you use this ability, it's going to lower veil degradation by your willpower bonus. As we've been discussing, your willpower bonus is going to get really, really high. Right now it's 8. But it's not unusual to, get your willpower to 100, between 100 and 200. So easily you can just completely wipe out any veil degradation of this. And also all allies get a willpower bonus to deflection against warp damage from psychic powers until the end of the navigator's next turn. If you're in a section of the game where there's just a lot of warp powers being cast on you, like fighting, certain bosses that I won't spoil here, this can be quite useful situationally on that as well. Then you're going to get Eye of Oblivion. This is so good. Every enemy the navigator has in their line of sight has its dodge and hit chance reduced by 16. And this does scale with your perception bonus. Again, another reason why we like perception. And this will be quite a bit higher when you buff yourself in combat. But again, minus 16 is no joke. So just you're harder to hit, more likely to dodge. Take and hold the ultimate power here. I never use it. Your finest hour and some of your DPS characters, their ultimate powers are going to be way more useful. Not that it's bad, it's just normally the combat will be over by the time you have a chance to even use this. Next, you get an extra AP automatically. And again, we're buffing willpower. Willpower and fellowship is what we buff first and foremost. Strange Vitality is pretty nice to make yourself tanky. And you will notice that this character, while they don't really attack at all, they are very survivable as far as having a lot of health and a lot of dodging. This, when she does take damage, she's going to heal a bunch automatically. And again, this does scale with your willpower bonus. So as you buff up your own willpower, you're going to be scaling easily 10, 15, maybe 20 plus sometimes health per turn, making her very, very survivable. You're going to buff your fellowship again. Now here's the key to this build. Combat Locus Stratagem. So as I mentioned, there's going to be areas that you put out on the board where if your characters stand on them, they're going to get specific buffs. So when you cast this for 1 AP on one of the areas, what's going to do is the bonuses that they get on those areas get doubled, but all the other areas get discharged. So you're only going to have one of the 3 active. That's okay. But you're going to make whatever the buffs of that primary one super, super powerful. And again, in a gameplay section, I will show you what that looks like. It's very impressive and very impactful. Next, you're going to have Persuasion again. And then Under My Protection. I like this a lot too. Allies that are targeted by the navigator's abilities gain a +5 to all the resistance tests against warp effects. Until the end of combat, the effect stacks of every applied navigator ability. You're going to be spamming your navigator abilities on characters constantly. So this is just a nice resistance bonus. If you have certain characters, you know they're going to be targeted with effects when they're fighting demons, etc. You just spam them, and this will up the resistances, which is, again, for higher difficulty gameplay, this is big. If you're playing on lower difficulties, you could probably pick something else there. Next, we're going to buff up Fellowship and a Mind Over Matter. I like this as well. So the Navigator will now make all resistance tests using the willpower. If it's your highest stat, it will most likely be your highest stat when you buff it, by far. So this is really good. It's another one of the ways where we swap what stats we use. And what I love about this also is if the navigator's willpower is higher than your toughness, your wounds, which is your health, are calculated according to the willpower. And again, look at my toughness, 30. Here it's 80 right now on willpower. Again, it's going to be way higher. Even baseline, I have 124 health. She's going to have so much health. It's insane. So, super powerful effect here. So, definitely get this. And then we're going to get Sniping Zone. Again, you're most likely going to utilize Sniping Zone in a lot of cases with your range attackers. So, I chose this one. It's going to increase your crit hit chance by a lot. And again, you're going to be doubling this, in my case, to 18 right off the bat. Do note that the calculation here is int plus fel and then divided by 2. So this is why later on I start bumping my intelligence a little bit. But the fel bonus is big here. And so this is just an extra bonus to the rare zone bonus that is also very ranged attack focused. So just another way to buff the rare zone. And perception again we're going to get, and persuasion. Then take and hold upgrade again. We're probably not going to be using take and hold very much, but I like this one that makes you more defensive. Then we're just buffing fellowship even more by getting the characteristic training fellowship. Then more willpower. Then I buffed intelligence again. I didn't really feel like I needed more perception, so I said let's get a little intelligence there because again of the scaling of the abilities we just looked at. Commerce, we bumped out a little bit. Now again, this was optional. I ended up swapping to use this character for my commerce checks as well, but you could have easily chosen anything else for there. And here's the show the path. So this is kind of like firepower, but for melee characters. So I kind of like this to have a little more versatility in my gameplay. You're still probably going to be using the other ability that gives you an extra turn for your ranged attackers, but it gives you options. Then characteristic training intelligence. Then characteristic training willpower. Again, focusing on these main stats, and I just started putting a little bit in intelligence. Coercion, perception, intelligence, characters training perception. Again, you could have technically done this a little bit earlier, but these stats are going to be very, very high. It will not die. Increases wounds by half of your character's levels. So this keeps scaling as you get higher and higher level. And finally, take and hold upgrade 2. Again, I do apologize. I think my voice is going out during this recording. So I do apologize for that bit. But again, you're probably not going to be utilizing take and hold very much. But if you do, this buffs the weapon and ballistic skills there. The previous upgrade made it more defensive. So at this point, it makes it a little bit more enticing to utilize situationally. And that ends all the Grand Strategist sections. Okay, so one thing to remember is, as a Grand Strategist, Cassia will always get to go first. So you want to keep that in mind strategically when you start up any battle. As long as you get to set up your position, you want to kind of pre-plan based on who you're going to attack with and who's going to be your DPS carry. So in this example, we have a lot of characters at ranged. So we'll go use our sniper character as a focal point. So I'm going to kind of show you this. I'm setting this up really quickly here. Don't have to be too specific or perfect, but you will notice I am kind of setting up pretty close together. It's not always recommended, but in a situation where you think you're going to clear out most of the area in like one turn, this is an easy example. So you're going to start the battle. And as I mentioned, you're going first. And the first thing you got to learn as a Grand Strategist, you're going to have these 3 zones. Notice they cost nothing to set up. Now, I will show you how you can set up all 3, but we're going to use an ability where you will focus on one. So let's look at frontline first of all. You're going to notice it's a 4x4 cell, and then it's going to make it so that you get a plus, in this case, 13% bonus to armor, and any enemies in that area are going to suffer 23% more damage, which situation can be quite good. And you can kind of set it up so it hits multiple targets. So let's say we have it like that, and notice now you can see that layout. Now it's grayed out. Now you can also do a backline. So really, backline is kind of midline. I don't know why they call it backline, because your true backline is rare. But this is going to make it the more defensive section. So if you're going to, let's say, move a bunch of characters up to an area, you can choose this to be a good area to get a bonus to your dodge and dodge reduction as well on a slightly offensive area. This one is a 5x2 setup. Now do note, again, these are going to scale based by your fell bonus and as well as your int bonus. So that's something to keep in mind. And so in this example, let's go ahead and just set it up. And again, I wish you could kind of spin it, but you can't. It kind of chooses where it's going to be. But let's say we'll do it here. And the main thing is we want it to affect Ulfar, who's likely going to take all the fire from here. And then the main one that we're going to be utilizing is Rare. And Rare is big because it's also a 5x2. But now notice it's going to increase your range damage by 13%. Over penetration by 14% in my case, and 14% crit chance. And again, I have a special ability that increases that crit chance. So here, notice again, as you move it, who you target, it will flip who it targets. That's where you kind of have to align people sitting side by side like this, and find a way where all your damage dealers, which again, we care about the sniper here, and potentially Argenta. And now you have your 3 zones. Now at this point, the way you would play her is you're going to go and use Voice of Command. At this point, right off the bat, before she gets any special buffs or anything, it's already going to be 23. And do note this increases with your fell bonus. So you're going to cast this voice of command, and we'll go ahead and put it on Argenta. Why don't we want to get her nice and buffed up? Now you can also go ahead and put reveal the light. I like to put that on whoever is going to be my caster, I guess, your psyker. That's up to you. Right now, in this example, my main character is going to be that, so use a point for that. But what you really care about here is going to be having a point for combat locust stratagem. And as I mentioned, this makes it so only one of the areas will activate, but all the bonuses will double. So all of a sudden, this 13% damage, range damage is 26, 26% over penetration, 26% crit hit chance, and again, that can get more powerful as well as your stats increase. So we cast that, target the zone. Notice the other zones are gone, and this zone is souped up. And now we go ahead and cast Bring It Down, and we're gonna cast it on Earlet.
If I may.
And I get so much smack for mispronouncing her name a million times. It's okay. And so now this is the bonus turn. And the main thing here is you want to try and you only have 2 action points. You want to try and kill somebody. So we would use a single shot. There we go. Either one of these is most likely going to die. Boom. Look how much this went up. Now it's because of that buff we had. It increased the amount of resolve basically and momentum you get per kill. So very, very good. Claim bounty. Let's do that. So we buff that up as even more. We go ahead and end her. Now notice when it went back to her, it's as if she had an extra turn, so her resolve bonus for mental increase. And in this case, we were oh so close to already being able to use Finest Hour. Now this is a case where normally if you were able to get Finest Hour ready, you would do that, but your backup plan is using the Inquisitor's Decree. It's overkill, but now you've definitely got it. And now you can do Finest Hour. Again, if your killer is your sniper, cast it on her. Look at all these attack points she has. Again, you should be able to now start sniping and just killing everybody. And again, one shot, one kill situations, she's just getting extra APs. So in my spot, up to 9 extra kills. Also get crazy over penetration. Notice that just went through and killed 2 enemies. It's insanely good. Now, again, if you run out of things to target, which can definitely happen, then you can pass this along as well using this ability. It's your time next. And again, this was all done and created. And this must be a bug, by the way. I just missed twice on 95%. I don't know why. I've had that happen in this game a couple times. Don't fully get it, but again, we still have 3 more shots in this example. So as you can see, all this power because of the buffs that Cassia provided. Now look at her stats already. Already right after bat, her perception is 93, intelligence is 73, ballistics is 107. These are all because of the buff. She's already made it so that if she wants, she can already utilize one of her ultimate attacks because she's easily maxed out the heroic ability the second time. But realistically, those aren't that powerful. What you'd probably do is pass her turn, pass Cassia. One enemy would get attacked. I mean, unless you kill this one, which it's here. We can't get her from here. It's too far away. But you could technically kill her. And then you would use the Argenta's heroic attack. So all because of how Cassia set things up, you're basically able to do multiple heroic attacks. And again, I'd be shocked if you can't wipe out this whole board in one turn. All because of Cassia's effectiveness. So, hope that helps out as far as learning how to utilize Cassia. I'm just going to skip it back to Cassia for a quick second. Just pointing out that, again, the way I have her set up, you can also utilize your action points to heal characters. If you have a melee character that you want them to get an extra turn, you can, for 2 points, use Show the Path. So you could charge in with an Ulfar, for example, if you have a melee character in your party. Really, really useful. Or again, you can also use things like Mend reality. In this case, your veil degradation is really high in this special kind of ambush battle, so you can get that nice and low as well. So, but most of the time, you're just going to be utilizing voice of command, bring it down, probably reveal the light on the main characters, maybe get back in the fight, give temporary wounds to characters that benefit from that, and then of course mend reality, manage the situation, and don't forget combat locus stratagem on the areas you want to focus on any given turn to just min-max your damage efficiency. Let's go ahead and talk about equipment now. Quick disclaimer here, this is at level 35, so right at the beginning of Act 4 basically. This is an older save file of mine, and I will tell you that you're going to have a lot of opportunities in the final act, well, Act 4 and then moving forward rather, to get a lot of good upgrades for her. I definitely did. So this is not min-max by any means, but it's a good starting point. She doesn't rely on equipment nearly as much for her stats, except with a couple small exceptions, because she's going to be able to self-buff so much. So for helmet, I did Tactical Genius. This is nice because your dodge is going to be nice and high with her, and it's going to allow you to just, whenever you do get targeted and you dodge, your momentum is going to skyrocket. Very good for her. If you want to buff your willpower even more, you could get something like Dark Visionary Hood. You are not, in this build, going to really attack with her with any offensive abilities that much. So you basically, with this item, only benefit from the willpower boost. For the chest piece, just get whatever best light armor you have with the highest possible armor percentage here to help you out. This one's 38. Now, earlier on, when I didn't have perception converting to dodge, the 10 agility was useful. So this is by no means great. So the secondary stats don't really help out that much. You could do much better. But again, just stay away from medium or higher armor so that your dodge doesn't get nerfed into the ground. The Scarlet Signet of the Inquisition. Minor spoiler alert. Going to get this from the Inquisitor pretty early in Act 4, and this is built for her. Plus Persuasion, passive, and then when you use this ability, the big thing you care about is plus 30 momentum. It's going to easily allow you to get 2 heroic abilities within the first round if you utilize this correctly. For your staff, you're going to find various staffs that will give you infusion. That's all you care about here. So this one makes it so that any allies targeted by your navigator powers are going to get additional movement points, which is not bad. But you care about the buff to all characteristics. This is going to get better and better as you get better staffs. I think it starts with plus 3 or 4 or something like that. This one's plus 7 and also gives you willpower and perception. Always go for these for this build. There's offensive staffs, but again, this is not an offensive build. This pendant's not bad. I mainly got it for fellowship boost. And again, if you're going to use her as a commerce character, I am in this build. The commerce is nice. And then this, you will notice, once you're dogmatic adherent or above, and this is a dogmatic character, your lore imperium will depend on fellowship instead of intelligence. So all of a sudden, once that happens, you'll notice my lore imperium, even though this is not my focus, jumped up really, really high. And then you also get plus 10 lore imperium. So you could definitely make her somebody does your lore imperium checks if you wanted. I didn't necessarily do that. It just happens coincidentally I got a really high score there. Iron Cape, mainly care about plus 10 to fellowship. Again, earlier on when you use agility for dodging in this build, the plus 10 agility is useful, but I mainly care about more fellowship. You can get better upgrades as you play, but this is not bad. I still have my Noble Silk Gloves early on the item. Plus 5 persuasion, can't go wrong there. You'll find better. Nobleborn Mantle is great. Plus 15 to fellowship. Really nice. You're going to keep her in the back rank, so it's pretty easy to manipulate the situation so you don't have any enemies within 4 cells. That's going to make her fellowship even higher. And then Expeditionary Footwear. You're going to plus 15 dodge until the end of the round whenever you use a navigator power. So your dodge is going to be insane because you're going to be using multiple navigator powers per turn. So this could easily be 30, maybe 45% dodge. on top of this that you have. And don't forget your tactical genius here. So if somebody's silly enough to try and hit you, or God forbid they burst attack you, you might be able to dodge 3, 4, 5 attacks in a row, and all of a sudden you have a full momentum bar. Very, very powerful. So again, even while not min-maxed in this setup like this, she's just great at supporting the party. And that, everybody, right there is the level 35 Cassia Ultimate Support build. As time goes on, I will be providing updated builds for higher levels as well, for maxed out builds and more characters. I do apologize, I haven't been doing as many of these recently. I've been under the weather and just very, very busy at work at my primary job, but I will do everything I can to get more of these out as time goes on. Definitely checking out your comments. Want to see some feedback, how I can improve, and give you guys exactly what you need. So look forward to more of those. As always, thank you for all your support. You know what to do to support the channel. Like, subscribe, comments for the algorithm so more people can see this. I greatly appreciate it all, guys. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.